Okay, good morning. So if you're attempting the assess piece, this may be useful to you. So remember, this is the formula. So you begin with an umbrella statement that connects both sources. So remember, this is just a statement that identifies how the two sources are similar. So both texts are about the first day in a prison. Okay, so that connects them. Then what you want to do is do an SQI for source A and source B. So statement, evidence, quotation, and inference. Okay, so you make a statement about the prison in source A. So in this source, and make a statement about it in relation to the question. You put a quote there to prove it, and then you make an inference about that quote. What have you learnt from studying that quote? Then you need a comparative connective. So however, alternatively, because source B is different, and then you do the same thing again. And then finally, you do a summary conclusion, which is a detailed summary of the differences between the two. So it's an overall blah, blah, blah. Okay. So we had a look at these in the lesson yesterday, and we made an umbrella statement about how these two texts are alike, and we identified that they are both about prisons and they are both about someone's first experience in the prison system. So that would be our umbrella statement. And we looked at these two little sections. So from source A, "Stop," cried the warden, "take your clothes off." I hesitated. "Take off your clothes, do you hear?" My clothes were soon laid on the bench, and a hot bath filled, and I went in. The officer had then his opportunity of taking up my garments one by one, searching their pockets and their linings, feeling them about, and holding them against the light. My boots appeared to be equally suspicious. After he had put his hand into them, he thumped them violently on the stone floor, but then nothing rolled out. So we looked at that text, and we talked about how the fact that the warden is quite confrontational. The way he speaks to him, it's impolite. So take your clothes off. There's no please. There's no, there's no sympathy there. It's quite humiliating that he's been asked to do this. It's a humiliating experience. And to take a bath in front of another man is quite humiliating. And when he's searching it, there's a mistrust there. He thinks there's something there, and there's a hint of abuse there, that this guy is not going to be friendly because he violently thumps the boot. Okay, it's just unnecessary and it's quite harsh. In source B, she describes her arrival as completely different. Many people think that prison must be a terrifying place with lots of violent women locked behind bars. It isn't. My arrival at Holloway was smooth, humane, and expertly carried out, involving quick fingerprinting on the boss chair, the body orifice security scanner, essentially a metal detector. So it's a completely different arrival. It's very humane. It's done very professionally. It's not humiliating in any way. It's very private, and that's because this is a modern text and this is there, but it's completely different in how these prisoners are treated. So here is the information that you need to basically answer this question. So write a summary of the differences between the Victorian staff and modern staff and their attitudes towards prisons. So to make two comparisons here, well, two summary statements, I've picked out the prison staff themselves and looking at the prison cells. So even though prison cells are a location, we can see the way that these are created. It shows an attitude about the way prisoners are viewed. So in the Newgate jail one, the 19th century, the prison staff are unfriendly and abusive. They're unwelcoming, they bark orders, they mistreat personal property and humiliate and threaten the prisoner. Whereas in Holloway, the staff are efficient, they treat her humanely and expertly treated. There are welcome bags and the prison guards are described as helpful. So we've got some quotes there that you might want to use to help you out. And the difference between the two like-for-like points is that the prison guards in source A are much crueler and cold and intimidate the prisoner with their threats, whereas in source B, the prison guards are professional, they're considerate, and they're even welcoming. In the Newgate jail, we've got the prison cells, which clearly reflect the attitude of the way they view the prisoners. They're designed to be unwelcoming, they're uncomfortable, they're isolating, and they're designed to punish the prisoners. We know that because the doors are triple locked, there's a straw mattress, it's an uncomfortable stool. It's definitely designed to be a punishment. Whereas in Holloway, the cells are obviously designed for punishment to some extent because they're isolating, but they are designed to have some comforts with curtains and TVs. There's blankets and food allowed inside, and the prisoners are treated humanely. And we can see that the prison cells are designed for rehabilitation and not necessarily punishment. And we know that because that the guards move her. So the first room is too cold, so they move her to another room, but that doesn't have a working TV, and they move her to a third room. So the cells are designed for punishment because you're being imprisoned. However, they do want you to feel comfortable within that punishment. So in source A, the cells are clearly designed to produce maximum punishment and discomfort, whereas in B, the prison guards want the room to be humane and comforting, even moving her to ensure a good room. Okay, so that will be really useful to structure your response. So remember, this is what you're doing. So you need an umbrella statement connecting both sources. You need a source A, point, evidence, statement, quotation, inference, and SQI. You then need comparative connective, source B, statement, evidence, inference, and then you want to summary conclusion. Now, this is what I modelled in class yesterday, and this will be useful to you. So my umbrella statement was both sources portray the experience of prisoners. So my SQI for source A. In source A, Victorian staff are abusive and rude towards the prisoners. The warden shouts instructions at the prisoners, telling him to stop and take his clothes off, do you hear? And then thumping his shoes violently when searching them. This illustrates that the warden doesn't like the prisoner as he's unfriendly and curt in the way he talks to him. Remember, curt means short, brief, it's unfriendly. Also, the way he treats his property violently hints that the warden may be abusive. So what I've done there is I've used a number of quotes. So you don't just have to use one. I've used a number of them to show that it's unfriendly, and there's my inference. It's unfriendly, it's curt, and it hints that the warden may be violent or abusive because of the way that he talks to him and the way that he treats his property. My comparative connective that I picked was on the other hand. And my SQI for source B was this. In source B, the modern staff appear approachable and fair as the prisoner describes her arrival at the prison as smooth, humane and expertly carried out. This illustrates that she felt safe in the prison. In addition, she even felt welcome because of the way the staff treated her. They made sure she had everything she needed to feel comfortable, even describing her visit with her children as brilliant. So my summary conclusion was, overall, we can conclude that the Victorian staff differ greatly to the modern staff in both attitude and physical treatment of their prisoners. Perhaps this is because of the different time periods. The staff in source A appear very strict, whereas in source B, the staff seem genuinely want to help people. And remember, I was saying for about 4 marks, you need to be writing about 10 to 12 lines. For 6 marks plus, it needs to be more detailed and you're looking at 20 plus, okay? So I think I've got, maybe that's a bit much. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. No, I'm right, about 20 plus, okay? So you're looking at about 20 plus lines for 6 marks. So on your assessment, you will see these sentence starters which you can use to help you. Please write below this, okay? Start your own answer. Don't just fill in the gaps, but you can use those sentence starters if you feel that you need them. And to know that you have got a good response, you will have followed the formula, you will have used quotes from both extracts, you'd have made inferences about those quotes, you'd have written a summary conclusion, and you've referred to both extracts in a balanced way, so you've covered both texts in detail. Good luck, Year 10.